Anthony and Todd Show.
What's going on? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Alright, everybody, welcome to the Anthony and Todd Show. I'm your host, Trevor, aka Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo Cool Keith, aka Unknown Mortal Forkestra, that's where everybody plays forks, aka Ross and Rachel's relationship and friends grew less and less compelling over the course of the show, but I couldn't help but root for them in the end. I'm joined today by my ever-attentive co-host, Vincent, a.k.a. Professor Hexagon, a.k.a. 808s and Hot Dogs, a.k.a. Hey, you gotta sing it. You sang it earlier.
Welcome to the heartbreak, and my butt keeps singing. Can't stop having these visions. I gotta keep singing from my butt.
You made it yourself.
I said 808 and hot dogs earlier, and knowing damn well that's one of the dumbest things I ever said, and I hate how you're using my own words against me with my own AKAs.
I'm having a good time. This is episode 34 of the Anthony and Todd Show. Today's episode is entitled, I've Octagon to Taco Bell 5 times this week.
That's too many times. Octagoning the Taco Bell once in a month, or once in a year is too much.
I've been to Taco Bell twice this week.
It's too much.
We got
Poland's gonna rebel against you.
No,
It's gonna what is it? It's going to secede from the nation. Your nation of domination. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. We got a great show planned for you today. We're going to be reviewing 5 projects. First, we got the Flatbush Zombies' new album, Vacation in Hell. It looks really colorful and glittery, but it's not. After that, we've got the Unknown Mortal Orchestra with Sex and Food.
2 things on the top list. There's sex and then
this was
food.
written by a Twitter girl.
Oh, okay.
After that is the return of Dr. Octagon with Moose Bumps, an exploration into modern-day horripilation. Then we're going to review a new 4-track EP from electronic musician Ross from Friends. And then we're finally going to bring this baby home with Kaliuchis' new record, Isolation.
We're gonna bring a baby home with Kaliuchis? That's weird.
We're going to adopt Kaliuchis' baby.
Okay.
We're also going to dive more into the Kanye quest with Kanye's next album in the series after graduation, 808s and
hot
Heartbreak.
dogs. Right, 808s and hot dogs.
Singing from my butt.
The whole entire album is just like he ate too many hot dogs, and he just decided, hey, I like playing around with this 808, and I like eating hot dogs. That's what the album's about. It's just what Kanye was going through in his personal life at the time.
I think I'm gonna have to make an album like that.
He's just like, I know 2 things: this 808 drum machine, this rolling 808, and the hot dogs. That's my whole entire worldview right now. Those 2 things. It's kind of like how Unknown Mortal Orchestra, their 2 things are sex and food. Kanye's things was 808 hot dogs. Those were his priorities. And then maybe like sex was here and then food was here.
The hot dogs are the food.
No, hot dogs are a particular type of food, but the rest of the food.
So hot dogs are just the best.
The best.
Okay.
Writing it into Flatbush Zombies.
Yeah, let's do it.
How flatbush are these zombies?
That's a stupid question.
How flat are these Bush zombies? Dude, I can't wait to review George W. Bush Zombies.
I can't wait to review George W. Bush's presidency.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one. I can't wait for
I
that
almost said pregnancy.
Is that where we're gonna get the baby from? So when we talk about
George W. Bush.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Flatbush Zombies is a hip-hop group from the Flatbush section of Brooklyn in New York City. And 3 members, Michi Darko, Zombie Juice, and then Eric Ark Elliott, who does a lot of the production. And these guys have all come together from being childhood friends to create some pretty out there music.
Okay, can we talk about Michi Darko for a second?
Just for a minute.
He looks like one of the most generic, like his personal looks. His personal looks look like one of the most generic.
Like physical looks.
He looks like just a generic SoundCloud rapper, but he sounds like just a raspy, like 40-year-old man. Just a very like kind of when he sings, it's very soulful and very fun. But what he like his personal looks, he just looks like if Little Uzi Vert and 21 Savage had a child. That's what he looks like. But his voice just contradicts it. But Zombie Juice, he looks like MC Ride's grandfather, MC Ride's uncle. But he's like one of the younger members. No, he's like the oldest member of the group, but he sounds like one of the youngest members. It's weird. Like his voice doesn't, like Flatbush Zombies, like their voices don't match how their looks. I think
not at all. If you didn't have a picture of them, like, I mean, even like looking at the album cover, this is like Drum and Friends. And like,
you're not wrong.
Yeah, I know. That's what's so great. But like, you'd never know who was actually rapping or singing or anything if you didn't.
It threw me for a loop because I thought Michi Darko was Zombie Juice. I thought that's how the Luke's the line. But it's just like I was like, no, wait, that's not how reality works. MC Wright's uncle cannot be Michi Darko. It has to be like, it doesn't make sense. Going back into this album, I think I was very interested going into this project because of the single Headstone. I heard that because I had no interactions with Flatbush Zombies before this. I've heard some of their work between.
Never met them before.
Yeah, I've never met them, but I've had no interaction with their music. I've heard some tracks that they did with A$AP Mob and a couple other things, but I wasn't too familiar with any of their other work that wasn't features. And I was excited. I was interested in hearing what material they're going to produce this year. I really liked the album art, and I was very interested in this track Headstone, which is a very, very catchy hype track. Michi Darko on the hook with put money over bitches on my head. I can't do that raspy voice like he does, but like it's just a very catchy, very.
You know, is a nice guy getting paid.
It's a very ear hook of a track, very, very fun, very exciting, almost in the fame of like pop rap, I would say. Almost kind of trap, production wise, definitely not even close to trap, but almost like peak trap should sound like, minus production. If that makes sense. I know that's a weird analogy I'm using for that.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
I was really excited because I thought it was just going to be a really hype, very fun project, and didn't listen to any of their singles. Wanted to be completely surprised because I wanted to review this. I knew we were going to go into this and review it. And just wanted to like let this album take away. We found out this album's an hour and 14 minutes long. And when I looked at the length of this project, it kind of scared me because I had like Migos flashbacks, like Migos Vietnam flashbacks. Like I was like, oh no, I don't want to go to war again. I don't want to have to wait an hour and 45 minutes. So this is an hour and 14 minute project. And weirdly enough, that justifies its length. Somehow this hip hop record is able to actually get better as time goes on. I think a lot of the later tracks on this album are some of the better moments. Like, I think moments such as the Trapped and Best American, Misunderstood, The Glory are some of the better moments on the album. Not to say the beginning moments aren't as good, but I feel like moments like Hello and Vacation and I think Real Girls aren't as strong as some of the later moments. I think the later section, it is more personal, it's more deep, it's more introspective. It kind of breaks kind of some of the hypeness that the first half had, but still retaining it with the personal style. I think Flatbush Zombies, Michi Darko has such a raspy, kind of very unique voice. He has a very good singing voice as well, which surprised me and reminded me a lot of...
That's very surprising.
It reminded me how surprising Big Crit's singing performance was on Forever's a Mighty Long Time, because it's just like, you don't expect Big Crit would have like a good gospel kind of style voice, and it didn't surprise me how good Michi Darko was on this. I thought Zombie Juice also had a really good and solid performance on this entire album. I liked a lot of his lines, and I think Eric Arc Elliott also had a good performance. I don't think Zombie Juice and Eric Arc Elliott are as unique as Michi Darko, but I think they do work as a collective.
I don't think that Michi Darko is held back in any way by his bandmates here.
And I think Zombie Juice and Eric Arc Elliott, they kind of need to work together, because like I think it's like almost how I feel about Migos in a sense. Is I think maybe except for Takeoff. Like everyone kind of sounds the same, and they just feel like
I
unit.
can't tell who's who.
It's like I can tell who's who. Like I can tell who Quavo is. I can tell Takeoff. I can tell who Offset is. But they work so well as a they don't work so well as a unit. But they all feel like a same person a lot of the times. Especially with their flows. Especially with their bars. Like you can literally just give them the same verse and you couldn't tell distinction in writing.
Yeah.
I think this kind of works in the same way, but I don't mind it as much because I feel like it feels like a unit. I'm not listening to just like the Quavo show or the Takeoff show, but it just feels like that one particular artist. I'm listening to a unit. Even though Mitra Darko has a more stylized persona, I feel like Zombie Juice and Eric Arc Elliott provide the same amount of compelling performance. It's just not as unique. I think Zombie Juice and Eric R. Elliott provide some of the best lines on this entire project as well. I thought they were really fun throughout. I think they're really consistent. But I think this album, it needed to be, like, these three guys really worked well together. I think they needed each other. I think they needed the production from Eric R. Elliott. I think Michi Darko and Zombie Juice and Eric R. Elliott worked together as a collective. And I think their style, it feels like they fit together, and it feels like they're trying really hard on this. It doesn't seem half-assed. There's some moments I don't care for, but on the worst, I don't think this album, I think even on its worser moments, like Ask Corky or Vacation, I think they're still trying the hardest. I think they're still going out there trying to give the best performance they can, but I just feel like track-wise, the tracks are just not as good as they could be, or they're not as good as comparison to other tracks, but I don't think they're terrible. I think there's still a lot of heart and soul being put into these tracks, and I like to compare Flatbush Zombies to A$AP Mob, because this reminds me a lot of some of A$AP Rocky's older music in his archive. I think this is kind of like what Flatbush Zombies are doing right now. This is kind of what A$AP Mob should be, like the style of music A$AP Mob should be
There's
making.
too many members,
but they never did. Like A$AP Ferg, very, I would say, almost comparable to Michi Darko, and not in the sense of his voice, but how distinctive a character he is. But Michi Darko is able to take an extra step where A$AP Ferg never was able to like get past the opening gate. A$AP Rocky and A$AP 12E very kind of similar in rapping styles, similar to Zombie Juice and Eric Arc Elliott. So I think Flatbush Zombies is kind of perfecting the style that A$AP Mob kind of created with this kind of like Brooklyn centered group rap, in like modern era Brooklyn centered group rap, because there's hip hop collectives that did it before him, but like this type of style, this type of era, kind of taking that music that they made, but almost perfecting it, or second, kind of taking that particular sound and perfecting it to a set. That's why I really like this project. I think, again, it's an hour and 14 minutes long, but I think it works well as a compelling piece. I'm not bored 1 second in it, and even some of the lesser moments, I think they have redeeming qualities to it. I think the verses are redeeming qualities to it, like on the track Vacation. The thing I hate about it so much is I don't think the production's that great, but I think Joey Badass, who features on it, he just blends in way too well with them. Because like Joey Badass is one character in hip hop that I've always been kind of critical of, because I've never seen the personal appeal to him. I think he's a conscious rapper, but I don't think he's ever able to really done anything that made him more than like a Kendrick or J. Cole clone. And like, I don't think he's like as compelling as someone as Kendrick, and he's not as poppy as someone as J. Cole. And J. Cole, like, I feel like he's even lesser than J. Cole than it's not, and like J. Cole's not even that good. J. Cole always has those writing abilities, and like Joey Badass has always been a character personally that I've never seen why he's so beloved the way he is, because we listened to All American Badass, and I got the production, I got the rhymes. He's very competent as a rapper, but there's just like, I don't get the appeal. I still don't. He seems very kind of almost generic to me in a sense. Generic conscious rapper. And on this, he fits in well with Flatbush Zombies, but he almost sounds like the hidden bonus member. We always joke about this. Is like, oh, you gotta defeat the final level on like legend difficulty and you'll unlock the hidden member of Aesop Mob or Migos, or we always make that dumb joke, but like
I think we've unlocked everybody in Aesop Mob.
Joey Badass just sounds like the fourth member of like Flatbush Zombies, but just like the Ringo Starr of the group. Just like the one that not everyone likes. Ooh. Whereas like we go on later on to like Aesop 12, a rapper I've never cared for. He fits in so well. Like he should act like Flatbush Zombies should almost annex Aesop 12 into the group because I think he works well.
I think they should adopt it. Aesop Mob should be disbanded, and each member, they should have a draft, and each member should be like auctioned off and drafted into new groups.
Okay, who gets Aesop Ferg?
No one.
No one?
He's done forever.
Who gets Aesop Rocky? Tyler Creed.
No.
Okay, do they have to go into other hip-hop groups?
See, I didn't think this through.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think Aesop 12 on the track Leather Symphony, I almost want to say Letter Symphony, fits in really well, and he gives a more compelling performance with that group than he did on his own before, and I think it works in that sense. But Joey Bradish, he almost on track Vacation just kind of slows down the track. The track Ask Courtney, I just was confused by it.
I'm not a huge fan. It was like based on the conspiracy theory that Courtney Love killed Kurt Cobain, when in reality Kurt Cobain's is still alive and well.
Yeah, the fat Kurt Cobain theory. He's alive in like Cuba or something. He's just fat. It's not a good theory.
Kurt Cobain's overrated.
But it's just like, it just seemed kind of forced. It seemed like overly edgy for what it was trying to be.
That was probably one of my least favorites.
And I think out of all of them, it's my least favorite on this album. But other than that, like those are the two moments I think are just like the worst on this entire project. But like what is great? Headstone, we already talked about it. Catchy as all get up, super fun, super exciting, and it's one of my favorite tracks of the year just because it is so catchy, so memorable. All the performances on it are just like engraving. I like the Zombie Juice line, I'm immortal with my Ted Link. I like the Michi Darko line. Hi, my name is Dirk Cobain. He's just like screaming.
That's his. If you look at like all of his aliases online, there's like 12 of them.
I like the track Crown featuring Portugal Man, which I think you should talk about further because I think you have more to say about it than I do.
I thought that it was like a super interesting feature because I don't think that like rock is used as much as it could be in hip hop. And I think it's cool that they involved like the entirety of the band of Portugal the Man on here. But also, like one of the lines of the chorus, the first line of the chorus actually, I've been glooming and dooming too long. Glooming and Dooming was the original name for their recent album Woodstock that came out. It was Glooming and Dooming for a long time, and then they dropped that name and changed it to Woodstock. So I thought that it was cool that like part of their past finally like surfaced up, because like if you didn't read about it, you wouldn't have known.
This track Crown is that it was supposed to be on Glooming and Dooming, and they repurposed it for this.
And now it's
I thought that was very interesting.
That's so cool. I think
this is not the first time they worked together. They apparently worked together on a Feel It Still remix, which I never heard about until this, because I didn't know they worked together before. But I think it's really cool. I hope we see more collaborations between like rock and the future, because like, especially with like Flatbush Zombies and Portugal Man, that seems like two polar opposites.
It works out really well. So well. This is one of my favorite tracks.
It reminds me of that collaboration between Diane Coffey and Run the Jewels on Run the Jewels 2. Reminds me a lot of that. Cool. Not fun. That mode.
They're not two separate, like completely polar opposite worlds. Like they can collab too.
I like the track Trapped. On near half the second half of the album, way more emotional, way more personal, way more introspective than the first half.
In my opinion, I think Vacation in Hell is split in two, or maybe not even into halves, but like I think at some point
it just gets kind of it tones itself down a bit.
That's the hell part, and the beginning is the vacation part, where it's like super hyped up with tracks like Chunky and Vacation and Headstone and Big Shrimp, just like hype, really energetic tracks. And at some point it kind of slows itself down, maybe around like You and I or The Goddess, and it becomes like very slow. It just, You and I had me like wanting to call up all my friends and tell them that I loved them.
You didn't call me up.
I didn't call up anybody.
But the track Trapped, personally what intrigued me to this so much is like I like everyone's verses, but Michi Darko's just seemed so much more personal than everyone else's. Just kind of saying he's sorry for the eventual suicide he'll commit. It's just really deep, very sad, but like it's very raw emotionally, very poignant. I like the track. What is it? You Are My Sunshine, which is Michi Darko's. He's a solo track on it. It's his tribute to A$AP Yams, who died back in 2014.
There were too many members of A$AP Mob.
No, that's not why. I forget. It was like he died of like.
That was like 2014.
He died of like Southern Commons, right? It wasn't like cancer. He didn't have like anything wrong with him. It was just kind of like he died in his sleep, right?
Let me look it up.
But it was this tribute to that, and it's very emotional. I really like the sampling. I like the vocal sample in the background. You Are My Sunshine, being played over and over again. I like how the track You Are My Sunshine, all capitalized, spells out yams. I thought that was really cool, and it's just very interesting, very smart. I think again Michi Darko gives a great performance on it. I like the track The Glory, where Denzel Curry just somehow, like, it's The Glory isn't a hype track by any means, but Denzel Curry still gives like a fantastic performance. Like Denzel Curry is like always hype. Like, I don't know how he's hype all this time. Like, he just manages to stay hype 24/7. Like, we just listened to the track Sumo 24/7. That made me, like, want to, like, rip someone's heart from their chest while it's still beating. And, like, just, like, punch shit. And, like, Denzel Curry's just, like, super hype as an artist, but he was able to tone himself down on this final track, on this closer. And I was kind of worried on how that tonality was going to work. And it fit really well. I think Denzel Curry did a great job. I think everyone did a great job. Performances around the board. And I think as an album, this project's so tonally different from from itself. I think it flows well as a singular unit, slowing down in the second half, and this first half being a bit more abrasive and a bit more popular, a bit more fun around the edges. You mentioned the first half's the vacation half, and the second half's more the hell part. I think all the features on here, besides Joey Badass, I am totally cool with. I love Dia's performance. I love Jadakiss's performance. I think Bun B has a great performance. Nick Caution on the track Misunderstood, I think, gives a fantastic performance. I think all the features besides Joey Badass fit like perfectly. I thought they were kind of all over the place stylistically wise, and like confused me a bit, but like I think everything fits. Like I think everything has a purpose. I think this is a very wholesome hour and 14 minute, well crafted, well written, well produced hip hop record. And I don't think I have anything else to say like that. The personal favorite moments, Chunky, Big Shrimp, which is just complete stupid dumbass track, Real Girls, Crown, You and I, The Goddess, Best American, Misunderstood, You and My Sunshine, The Glory. There's like a hell of like fantastic moments on this project. I think everyone delivers the best performance they can give, and I don't think I have anything else to say about it. I think they work well as a unit, and I want to hear more from the future. This is just a very solid, understands what it wants to be hip-hop record, and it succeeds to his expectations. It's not trying to bloat itself down. It's not trying to just build itself up because it can. It builds itself up because I think it needs to, in a sense. I think besides Vacation and Ask Courtney, there's no really moments I would cut. Like, I think you can maybe cut it down 10 minutes, but I don't think you need to. I think it's perfectly fine as the length it is. There's nothing that made me out of this like really disappointed. I think most of my problems with this my main problem with Vacation and Ask Courtney was not really Flatbush Zombies. It was just on Ask Courtney, I thought it was just kind of being overly edgy, and on Vacation, I thought Joey Badass and the production wasn't that fantastic. But as a whole, I think they work well as a group. I think they're able to switch up their style and be a little bit more introspective and emotional in the second half, and it's it's super fun. Tracks Headstone and Crowned are great. I don't have anything else to say anymore. I really like this record, and I'm going to give it an 8.75 out of 10. I really enjoy this. I think this is a fantastic hip-hop record, and it's definitely going to go down as one of my favorite hip-hop records of the year. And I don't have anything else to say. I think it's a really well-crafted, well-spoken for, well-understood of what it is project. And leave it at that.
Awesome. I'm also going to give it an 8.75 after how much I like this. Tracks that even like you didn't like personally I liked Vacation. Also not mentioned M. Bison.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, Trapped is a good one.
One thing I forgot to mention about Vacation that I really enjoy is I do enjoy the hook. I need a vacation. That speaks for itself.
Fun. I think the hook is fun. I think Michi Darko is so he's turned into like one of the most colorful characters I think in hip hop, or at least in like indie hip hop. Sometimes I think that we forget too often that indie hip hop can also have like very hype tracks too.
Or very like more popular hip hop roots. Like I think that Headstone, which if I had to say anything terrible about the track, which I don't want to, is that it's just a little too poppy. That's it. I think it has it's able to combine kind of like indie hip hop that we expect from maybe like Injury Reserve or Brockhampton, but combined it with more popular hip hop / trap that we expect from maybe like ASAP Mob or like Amigos, for example.
Right. There can be indie trap. There can be indie like just hype tracks, you know, and I think that's not like super accounted for. But yeah, I think that's right. Flatbush Zombies have kind of, in ways, broken into like the mainstream, but I don't think that they like it there, and so
I don't think they fit there anyway. Like, not because I say that I think they fit well, and like
no, I think they would fit. I think some of these tracks would fit really well, like in radio play, getting Portugal the Man or Denzel Curry or Joey Badass or ASAP 12, you know, these are kind of showing that they're breaking into like the mainstream, but I think that like they just don't like it, and so they choose not to be there. But there's so many like really hype tracks on here. I actually wrote this line. I think that this is indie hip hop's answer to Migos, just based on like the length, girth, the group aesthetic, the hypeness of the tracks. Some of them don't mean anything, and some of them are like very introspective, unlike Migos. They're superior to Migos in every way, shape, and form.
Okay,
in my opinion,
I'm gonna leave us out on this dumb analogy or metaphor or whatever we always do. So this is terrible, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So Migos is like having a pencil for a dick, where it's like really long. It's like one of those like bendable pencils that you get from like the book fair in like 4th grade.
Scholastic book fair.
It's really thin, but you can bend it, but it's like super long. Whereas Flatbush Zombies is like having like a giant ass like novelty sized pencil that's not like, it's about the same size. It doesn't stretch out as big as like the Migos pen, but it's way more girthy. I'm gonna leave it there. That's the analogy, and it has to do with length. But yeah, I think this record's great. Check it out. Check out our tracks: Headstone, M. Bison, Crown, Misunderstood, The Glory.
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
What?
Michi Darko tweeted that he wanted DMX to say a prayer at the end of Ask Courtney, and I think it would have seriously improved the track. I'm really upset that it wasn't on there.
Reverend DMX.
Like, why wasn't he on there? Anyway, 8.75. I'd definitely check out this album. All right, Unknown Mortal Orchestra, New Zealand American rock band, and this is their 4th album under their belt. Sex and Food. That's our two favorite things. Sex, all the way up here.
Food.
And food. And then this is just blank space.
Blank space. They don't like anything else. Sex and food.
Yes.
And then their mom's like down here.
Aww.
Poor mom.
They're brothers.
Are they?
Yeah, so they have the same mom.
Same mom?
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, so that even hurts more, because that's collective powers. It's not like they're looking for 2 separate mothers. That's combined love. So their mom's down here. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's too stupid for even for me. But Sex and Love is their follow-up to the last record, Multi-Love, which is an album I've listened to a couple times, but I think it's like besides like tracks like Necessary Evil and So Good and Get Into Trouble, I don't
multi-love.
I don't think there's much to it. I think it serves more as like an album that's just good to sit to or just kind of like think or like introspect to, and it's not good as like anything more than that. It's good like background music or atmospheric music, if that makes sense. I don't think there's that much depth to it besides that. I thought it was fun. It didn't hurt me. I think it was a good... Necessary Evil is like the best moment on that project. I think it's utterly fantastic, but other than that, there's nothing that like super spoke out to me, and it seemed like that had that much depth or like entertaining performances that would serve beyond background music.
Sure.
And I feel kind of the same way about this. Sex and Food is about like 40 minutes, and it just doesn't seem like there's that much depth to it. It doesn't know what...
straight with you guys. I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief. Like we talked about earlier a little bit, this album doesn't know if it wants to be like a rock album or more of like a chill, introspective album like their past ventures. Like, you could even, like, plot it out on a chart. Like, going from A God Called Hubris, which is just, like, an intro. Major League Chemicals is, like, high energy.
Yeah, like
and
Queens of the Stone Age.
It dips a little bit, and we get to, like, American Guilt, and it's high energy. And then it dips again, and goes down to how many zeros? High energy, and now we'll, like, dip again. It's just really...
It's just, like, all over the place.
It's so like all over the place and doesn't know, like, what it wants to be. But another thing for me personally, so a lot of these tracks towards the end feel like they could have all been meshed into one track and I never would have noticed. Speaking directly about the Internet of Love, everyone acts crazy nowadays. This Doomsday, if you're gonna break yourself, I feel like they're
Not in Love, We're Just High. I feel like
they all could have been like the same track and I never would have known. I'll be honest, this album bored me.
Really? I wasn't bored by it, but it's how I feel about the last project. There's elements I like. Like, I think, again, like the opening with A God Called Hubris and Major League Chemicals, essentially the same track. They flow well. God Called Hubris is only like 40 minutes, or 40 seconds. But it reminded me a lot of like King Gizzard or like Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
And like, if that was the sound they're going through, and like American Guilt reminded me of that too. It reminded me of almost a hybrid of the two. Kind of that rock sound. But like, you get tracks like Honeybee and Ministry of Alienation, which are so like chiller than that, and they counteract it. It's just like, there's two ends. It needed to pick whether it wanted to be chill and like a nice like background listen, or something like introspective, let's say like a Radiohead's Moonshine Pool, which is like, not to say that's just like background music. That's like background music being super introspective and super well written, but like it can be done into something good. Or if I wanted to be Queens of Stone Age, King Gizzard, like typical project where it's just kind of like jagged, all over the place hip hop, kind of distorted, kind of out there, but at the same time super catchy. American Guilt's a great track. I super love that track. That was the single I got into this, and I knew there was gonna be some like exciting things to this, but then I heard the track Not in Love, We're Just High. And
second single.
It just like, it was like two different worlds, and I was confused on like what the sound. I didn't listen to any of the single or any other like teaser tracks. I think there's like one more after this. Didn't listen to it. Didn't want to because I was confused, and I kind of wanted to hear how this project was going to play out. And it's kind of like what I worried. It's just two different worlds. I don't think there's anything necessarily bad, and I think my biggest complaints, besides how the layout or how it is I don't think the lyricism is bad or anything like that. And I think the biggest thing is just, I think some of the performances are just not there, at least vocally. I think it seems like he's almost at like a back of a hallway. He's kind of like, just like not distant from the mic. It's kind of what we talked about Doom last week. He's just not high up enough vocally. It's just
turn up the mic.
Turn up
everybody.
The mic. Get closer to your mic. Speak into it. Blare into it all you have to. But he just doesn't seem like he's close enough. Track like Honeybee, beautiful production, but it's just not there. Major League Chemicals, you can hardly hear them. Production's fine. Production's great. But at the end of the day, I feel like vocally it just doesn't show on some of these tracks. American Guilt, I don't have a problem with it.
The lyrics don't matter if you can't hear them.
But I think in the end, it's just like it just doesn't know what it wants to be on the two different realms. It goes through so many ideas, but like at the end of the day, I like these tracks for their sound besides the mixing. And Honeybee, I can still enjoy because it's the production, the strings, and everything attached to it are so grand and glorious, and I think it's utterly beautiful. But the vocals are just not really doing it for me.
Now, like, when I say bored with this album, I don't mean that it was bad.
Yeah.
Because I can still be bored with this album, but enjoy the sounds it's making. Because even those, like, last 6 tracks that I was like, oh, these are all just the same track, at least it was pleasant harmonies and pleasant, like, melodies. And it was pleasant to listen to, but it didn't do anything for me. There were just like better ways to use that chill vibe, like you mentioned, Honeybee or Ministry of Alienation, a track that doesn't get enough credit. Kronos feasts on his children.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. One it's just so strange that
it's really short and it's really like weird. It uses some like Frank Ocean type harmonies for vocals, and then just kind of ends really abruptly and goes into American Guilt,
which I think that transition kind of works necessarily.
I think that transition works, but I don't think like
a bunch of the other ones though. No. Like I don't think like How Many Zeros and Dead Not in Love were just high. It just doesn't flow well together for me. In the end, I don't think this. I think this confuses me on what I want to give it a score, because I think I want to listen to this again. I want to listen to moments on this again because I think it's so good. But I also don't think it works well as a compelling album. I think there's work that needs to be done. I'm just gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Leave it there, because there are moments I enjoy. There are things I enjoy about this project, but like all in the end, it's just kind of confused on what it wants to be, and I don't think I can rate it high enough. I think I like the music that they're making on this. I like moments like Honeybee and American Guilt, but they're so polar opposites to this that I don't think I can give it a good enough score as that. So I'm just gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Leave it there.
I think I'm going to have to give it a 5.75.
Okay.
Just to be a little more specific with that.
5.75, 309.
No, that's 6.75, 309. I just gotta be honest. There's like some moments that I did really enjoy on here, but they just didn't carry through all the way. I just don't think some of those musical concepts carried through all the way, which is a shame, because I think it could have been really cool.
It could have been just like a chill album. It could have been like a really up in your face album. It could have been a really surprising album.
But this was just like, hey, we made a bunch of tracks. Here's an album.
We put them on shuffle. We listened to Kendrick Lamar's Damn, and then we got the true idea.
We were really inspired. But no, definitely tracks. Check out like Honeybee and American Guilt. I think those are really cool and
catchy too.
Oh yeah, they're very catchy. Depending on what your mood is.
So I would suggest check out those moments, Honeybee, American Guilt, but I don't know, like unless you're just looking for something to just have on as background noise, try to stay away from this as like an album experience. I don't think it's worth it. Hear ye, welcome ye to the Yeezy Quest, the Kanye
Welcome Yeezy.
Welcome Yeezy, Yeezer.
Hear Yeezy.
Well, that's good. We'll leave that for future episodes. Hear Yeezy. Welcome to Ye Kanye Quest.
Ye old 808s and ye old heartbreakers.
This is the weekly series we do where we go through Kanye West's discography. We talk some of the brief history surrounding the album. We also do a little Kanye Quest. D&D like Kanye Quest. It's not D&D. It's more like...
We fought like one guy and it didn't go that well.
So we just stopped. Now it's just more of like narrative storytelling. It's more like Kanye fan fiction at this point.
It really is. I'm writing Kanye fan fiction.
It's... Each week we start off with the Kanye Quest, which is my character, Father Stretch, my Big Trev the Refrigerator Kid, Part 2. Going on this epic journey with Kanye West. We just left Skyvale University after Kanye pretty much committed genocide on everyone that went there.
You helped him. It was your sword. The blood is on your sword. No, it was just
my cassette tape that had
the blood is on your sword.
Blood on my sword. Oh shit, what fell?
Oh, it's not important.
Blood on my sword. I was trying to figure this out now. And I want you to wait. That's not this album. We probably should not sing that. And I want you to wait, please.
No spoilers, please.
I can't wait that Kanye killed everyone off in that track, and I'm gonna spoil you.
It's gonna be great.
But yeah, let's start off with the Kanye quest.
Okay, all right. So, you and Kanye climbed down the mountain, right? You were on the mountain, and you left Skyvale's ruins far behind you, both physically on the mountain and in your mind, mentally. You don't want to remember all the people that Kanye slaughtered. They just wanted their degree. They just wanted to complete their associates.
They're gonna go to a slave camp.
But they don't know that. Not anymore. They won't, because everybody's dead. Skyvale is no more. So you're walking, and day turns to night. You've been walking all day, and you find yourself in the thick of this really deep forest, and you kind of lose your way because it gets really dark. And Kanye says, well, we should probably stop and camp out, but you don't really want to because it's a really scary forest, at night. And there are lots of potential dangers around you, and you can't find your way out, which is just a huge disappointment to you. And you cry out into the night, and you say, oh, Lord, somebody please help us. Oh,
Lordy.
Oh, Lordy.
You're over 40.
Great. We need to find our way out. And Kanye just has this really sad look on his face, and he says, I think I know how to get us out of here. And he starts a fire, and he throws some of your provisions into the fire. And at first you're mad. You yell at him. You're like, Kanye, what the heck? Why'd you do that? But he says, shh, be still. And he begins to speak. And he brings his hands up through the fire and the ashes, and the sparks fly and tornado into the sky. And he says, oh, mother, oh, great Donda, please hear us. We need to find our way out of this forest. And you hear no voice, only the wind sweeping through the forest. And the trees begin to light up with neon. The leaves begin to point you in the way out of the forest. And as the breeze blows through the leaves, you don't hear the normal rustling leaf sounds, but a more electronic type. Almost like an 808. So Kanye thanks this mysterious figure, and you begin to follow him through this now electric musical forest, as he leads you through the trees and through the neon lit path, very somber and very gloomy feeling, and you just have a feeling that something's wrong. And as soon as you reach the other side of the forest safe and sound, Kanye reaches up again to the sky with one hand and says, thank you again, oh mother, and you finally realize what has gone wrong. Kanye prayed to his mother, and she helped him find the way. This is a feelings episode.
You make me get on the feels. That was good. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
You improved yourself. You actually surprised me this week.
Thank you.
Okay, so 808s and Heartbreaks is kind of Kanye switching up his style yet again from what he did from College Dropout to Late Registration, from what he did from Late Registration to College Dropout, switching up his style for completely something new. There's two major events that kind of justified this transition, or at least transition in tone. The first one being the kind of sad and really sudden death of Kanye's mom, Donda West, after having complications after having plastic surgery. I think knowing how close Kanye was to his mother and how much she supported him, you can tell how much that would have an effect onto him, how close he was to his mother, how much his mother fought for him, and how it would affect him. And at the same time, a couple months later, he would break up with his fiance at the time, Alexis Pfeiffer, and end the relationship and their long-term relationship they had that began in 2002, shortly before College Dropout. And this would set off a chain of events that would affect Wes. He would cancel his Glow in the Dark tour shortly thereafter. And this would mark the beginning of a new style of Kanye West. Something he was interested in using was minimal production, minimum sound, trying things out like auto-tune, which is a new thing done at the time. I think only people... the most notable person to use it at the time was T-Pain. At least I think the Mariah Carey was the person that inspired T-Pain to use it, because Mariah Carey used it in that track, I think. But T-Pain was the first notable user of autotune, at least in that style. And Kanye West followed suit, but doing it way grander and way much better than T-Pain used it, in my personal opinion.
I think that Kanye used not T-Pain. T-Pain used autotune in a way that would improve his voice, and that was like that was like a part of him.
Yeah.
Almost. But I think Kanye's use of autotune in 808s stretched into that realm where we talked about how he uses Adam Levine or Chris Martin of Coldplay as instruments that work into his own music. Kanye didn't use autotune as an assistant. He used autotune as an instrument.
And that's something T-Pain has kind of give Kanye flack for, because T-Pain's called what he used autotune as an instrument, and what Kanye has used and what other rappers have used not as an instrument. So like that kind of confuses me. But I think
it can be used as a crutch. But
I
don't think Kanye used it as a crutch, because I know he can sing without it.
I think what like Migos used as like a crutch, definitely.
Also, I know T-Pain can sing without autotune,
so maybe he's using it as a crutch. But I think Kanye is essentially the sound of this album. He also wanted minimum production, and he was using a Royland 808, and that was essentially the entire sound of this album. Minimum pop production, more emotional, because Kanye was going through a lot of things, a lot of trauma at the time. Death of his mom, breakup, long-term relationship, and he was going through a lot of heartbreak, a lot of emotional trauma that he wanted to get through on this album. Just in the way like Graduation was, he made it, he's here, he's on the mountaintop. 808 was, oh, now I'm in the pit, I feel emotionally like I'm in the pit. I've gone
fell off the mountaintop.
He may be up the mountaintop fame wise, but emotionally and personally he feels like he's in the pit. And I think that's kind of it's weird that it's not only his sound's changing up, but his life and his reflection of himself is changing up. What's great about this album? I think this album's one of Kanye's most. It's Kanye's most underrated album. I will say that. I don't think like Graduation's underrated. I think it's underrated more as like how people view it as one of the better Kanye albums, like we do. But like, I think 808 pound for pound is like underrated. I think people just overlook it because of just the heavy use of autotune, because it's not really a hip hop album.
It was so polarizing.
It's a pop album.
It was so polarizing when it came out, because the public thought, here's a new Kanye album, and especially following in the wake of the College Dropout, into Late Registration, into Graduation, like that was a trilogy.
Yeah,
that's a very like obvious trilogy. And when 808s came out,
it was like
something that it wasn't a normal like Kanye album. It didn't have like this. It hardly had like any samples. Like it didn't use like a lot of really anything production wise besides the 808 and the auto-tune.
Look through the sample credits real fast. I think the only one's on RoboCop, if I'm not wrong.
RoboCop and Bad News.
And they're not like traditional soul samples or like how the rock samples or electronic samples we got on Graduation. No, that's like orchestral samples and stuff of that nature. I think it is a pop album. I do not classify this as anything more than a pop album. I don't think this is a hip hop album by any means. And I'm not saying it's bad because of that. I think that's just the genre this album just kind of falls under place in. I think when I think of how this album's kind of underrated or how polarizing it is, I think when I was in 6th grade and me and my mom were driving somewhere and it was like the dead of night and Love Lockdown starts playing on the radio. And my mom was just like, I haven't heard the song before. She was talking about it, but she was just like, the song sucks. It's so like basic. There's like no rhythm to it or anything. It's just like the simple drum and that's it. And I'm like, no, I think this is kind of cool for that. And my 12-year-old self like really appreciated that just because I thought it was so different at the time. And I thought I really enjoyed the production. I really enjoyed the drums on the track. And I still do. I think that's like one of the better moments on this album. I think just going into this, I think Kanye was able to turn a tough time in his life into something kind of not tough, but something very polarizing. At least sound wise, because I personally enjoyed this album a ton. I think it's really good. But
No, I really like 808s. I have to give Kanye like immense credit because I know that like if other artists of his caliber were going through a difficult time like that back in what, like 2007,
yeah,
people wouldn't have done the same thing. Like they would have taken a break from music. They would have created an album that gave like a kind of a false sense of like, hey, everything's okay.
Yeah.
They put on a mask or said like, look, I overcame, I triumphed. Like I'm pretty sure Taylor Swift has done
Look
this
at
like
me
20 times.
Yeah.
But like basically like that feeling of triumph, like Kanye was like, I'm sad. Here's my heart poured out to you and I don't care. Like
and when you get into production, it matches the feelings of heartbreak. You get into Say You Will, it's isolating in a sense. You feel like you're just alone. But at the same time, there's like a melancholy beautifulness, if that makes sense. A beauty in the melancholy, beauty in the sadness, which is a concept I always like looking into because I think it works really well. But there's a beauty in the sadness. There's a beauty in the heartbreak. And Say You Will, I think it's the magnum opus of minimalism, essentially. This grand, it's just drums and this simple like choir sample, but it feels like it's like I'm listening to an orchestra perform it. It's only those two things, but it feels so big. Welcome to Heartbreak, Kanye's like I believe it's Kanye's first collaboration with Kid Cudi, at least on a Kanye project.
I'm gonna say yeah.
On a Kanye project for sure, it's the first interaction or first Cudi's first feature.
Not the last.
Not the last, but very catchy, very fun. I think it would have worked better as an intro, but I think Say You Will is so good. It feels like an intro. It feels like a second intro. I think Say You Will, and you needed that on the spot. But Welcome to Heartbreak, it's more of like an introduction to the album, and it works really well. Heartless. The more I listen to that track, I think it's like one of Kanye West's like best tracks. I think it's his most catchiest, but at the same time, it's Kanye West, I would say, his most poppy track out of any of the stuff he's produced. This is just Kanye making, it's very similar to Graduation era Kanye in a sense, but it's more tweaked. It's more tweaked into a pop track, more tweaked into a more minimal style. It's the most hip hop out of any of these tracks, I would say. This and Amazing.
Yeah.
Another underrated track in my opinion with Young Jeezy. It's so catchy, so fun. Again, really minimal production, nothing, very catchy verses, very inspiring. But those are like, I think going to Love Lockdown, how minimal it is. But there's just moments of pure heartbreak on this. I think like moments like Street Nights, Say You Will, and Love Lockdown are moments of just like in Coldest Winter, just moments of like pure heartbreak. I think the weakest moment I have to say on this project, See You in the Nightmares, but I even like that. I like how Lil Wayne's kind of incorporated in this weird way of he's kind of doing what Kanye's doing on the same track. They're both trying out singing. Like, you don't expect Lil Wayne to be like singing on a track in the same way.
I expect him to be playing guitar.
But I think it kind of works out in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people don't care for that track because they think like Lil Wayne and Kanye are trying to outbest to each other to see who's like the worst singer. But like I think it works out well personally, and it's super catchy. It's such an earworm in my opinion. The track RoboCop will go down as one of Kanye West's most cheesiest tracks, but I fucking love it. It's like bound to like 10 years earlier or like 5 years earlier, whenever Jesus came out. It's just a goofy, just stupid love track in a sense. He's telling this girl, why are you acting like a robot? Why are you having no emotion? Why are you doing this to me? But I like it. It's almost kind of like a breakup track in a sense, but I enjoy it. It's a goofy, it's Bound to before Bound to is the thing. That's what I say. It's just stupid, it's cheesy. Kanye at the ending with ha ha, you kidding me, ha ha, you kidding me. They're just so stupid. Like, he's just fucking around, he's trying to have fun, like. And
at least you can still have
fun. Yeah. And Paranoid, catchiest, one of Kanye's like most catchiest songs that he ever made.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Hudson on the hook, fantastic. I like the version he performed live when he performed this album live. I think at the LA. What's the dome that they have? LA Dome.
Thunderdome.
No, yeah, the LA Thunderdome. That's what it is. But he performed this album live in its entirety, and he did that. He did Paranoid with Kid Cudi and Mr. Hudson, and I really like that version of it too, the live version that they performed. But it's super catchy. The hook's very out there. Kind of, I think it emasculates that kind of feeling of what Kanye was going through at the time of the relationship. And then finally, I think Pinocchio's Story is one of the most pointless Kanye tracks ever made. And I think it's a bonus track. That's all I'm going to say. Because I just think it's mixed terribly. It's just a gritty live track. It's so stupid. This is why, I think people, whenever people call Kanye dumb, I think of this track. It's just stupid. Wise man say, and he compares himself to Pinocchio, but I just think it's stupid. This is my least favorite Kanye track, and it's just a bonus track. It's a live performance, live from
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count, but it's
live from the Thunderdome.
Live from the Thunderdome, but it's my least favorite. It just seems completely stupid, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't have anything else to say. This album, it's a Kanye's minimalist pop opus in a sense, and tracks like Say You Will and Coldest Winter and Love Lockdown give it that vibe. There's still hip hop tracks like Heartless, amazing, but this is a way more, I would say, introspective Kanye. It's not his most introspective that we see. I think actually his most introspective is honestly on Life of Pablo, but which will feature events. But I don't the biggest problem with my album is this album is I on a Kanye scale I just don't know where to put it between some other albums, because I don't know if it's better than Late Registration, even though I like it a lot. I think it is. I just don't. It's definitely, I will not put it above College Dropout by any means.
It's hard to say it's underrated and then not be able to rate it as highly.
Because I think it's definitely better than, I think we could probably put it up with Late Registration, that'd be fine. But I do not think it's better than College Dropout or Graduation. So I think what we're gonna do is the current ranking is because I think this 808
split timeline.
The one where Kanye's mom didn't die?
Yes.
Okay. And then he made what would Kanye make?
The Life of Donda.
He made it's
called 808s and I Love
No, he
Life.
he made the Child Rubber Soldier album.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a split off.
Finally.
Yeah, that's what happened when Dinah was dead. But I think the reason we're gonna put this above and it definitely is better than the mixtapes. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give it because it's a full project. I think any of the albums are gonna be better than the mixtapes because they're not compilation projects.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I'm gonna put it above Late Registration is that it is Kanye going for a new sound, and Late Registration, I feel like why we can't rate it as highly is because it essentially was redoing College Dropout in a sense, and it did a good job of redoing College Dropout on a grander scale, but it isn't, I feel like, the material on that as raw as the material on College Dropout, and it isn't a new Kanye like we saw in Graduation, and it isn't as emotionally poignant as 808 Heartbreaks. It's not super far out there. It's not trying to be something new. It's not trying to be something different like this one is. So I'm going to I think the current ranking is Get Well Soon, I'm Good, Can't Tell Me Nothing, Late Registration, 808s and Heartbreaks, College Dropout, Graduation. I think that's where we're going to leave it at that. And until next time, guys, have a Yeezy day. If you see Yeezy in the streets, tell him Vincent.
Give him Yeezy's best.
Give him Vincent's best. Give him Kanye,
his own best.
Give him his own best.
He'll be like, what are you doing?
You're breaking the space-time continuum here. We're all gonna go down. We're gonna go to the second timeline where I made the Child Rebel Soldier album.
Have a Yeezy day.
Have a Yeezy day.
Dr. Octagon, don't tell anybody, is a persona of Cool Keith.
Who's like 90 years old.
Yeah, he is. Actually, I think the technical, term analogy for who Dr. Octagon is like the collaboration of Cool Keith and then producer Dan the Automator, who I like a lot of his work. Dr. Octagon is
Wait, how old is Dan the Animator? But he's like 400 if Cool Keith is.
He's 51.
Ooh, same age as Cool Keith. They're around the same
Cool
age.
Keith is not 51.
What is he?
54. Cool Keith is not going to last very much longer.
He's only got a couple good years left.
He's almost done for. He's almost expired.
You know, when you get to 55, you have to go, and you're a rapper, you have to go to the rapper's old folks home.
Yes.
Doom's gonna go there in like a decade.
We have to break him out. We're gonna bust him out. Okay. Dr. Octagon, the persona is a alien from Jupiter. He's a surgeon and a gynecologist.
Just the more you talk about this, the more I'm just like, what the fuck?
He treats like fake diseases. A lot of times his patients just die, and he's like, okay, he's been killed like 3 or 4 times. He gives he gives his patients Pepsi and Pepto-Bismol and bugs and Pop Rocks. He's this is really like bizarre. He was finally killed by electrocution with an electric razor. But he's back. Cool Keith has resurrected his Dr. Octagon moniker on his latest album, the full name being Moose Bumps, an exploration into modern day horripulation. So
I like that word, horripulation.
We already know that this is like getting into some weird territory. A little bit of backstory. I actually have the first album that Cool Keith ever made solo. He was in the Ultramagnetic MCs for a long time and finally decided to break off as a solo act, but he went under the name Dr. Octagon. This album is really weird and polarizing and just has a lot of like really bizarre moments where sometimes there's like lines that don't even rhyme. There's like weird skits, and there'll be times where like he'll be in the operating room talking to his patients, and just super bizarre record, but it meant a lot for what it is. Vincent described it earlier as mad villainy to like 10 years earlier.
10 years earlier, but
just
not
as
not as good. I would say. I think it's more of like food 10 years earlier in a sense. More MF Doom 10 years earlier. I think he definitely inspired MF Doom and a lot of that indie style at the time. I think it was like, it's one of the most first notable underground hip hop albums.
This brought like a revitalization movement, I think, to like indie hip hop and underground hip hop. So a lot of the groups that we listen to now, like I think Doom and Injury Reserve and Run the Jewels have a lot to thank Cool Keith and Dr. Octagon.
Actually, I don't think they have a lot to thank because I listen to that. I think it's because a lot of the artists they listen to were inspired by what Keith
they
does
weren't.
on
I don't
this.
think they were directly inspired, but I think that indie hip hop would have died out had this album not
because
come
like
out.
who's everyone's favorite rapper? Doom, and who's Doom kind of taking credit from? And his weird soul.
Doom learned a lot from Cool Keith and has worked with Cool Keith in the past, which I'm sure was awesome for him. But just a ton of really interesting ideas that take place on here. A lot of humor, a lot of like really absurd ideas, a lot of like surrealism and non sequiturs, and just like things that don't make any sense, would never fit into like a normal hip hop project. And Dr. Octagon Ecologist gained a lot more attention than any underground project had up until that point. And it revitalized that movement. Fast forward to 2018, and Cool Keith is back with his Dr. Octagon moniker on his latest project, Moose Bumps. And in ways, it's a lot like Dr. Octagon Ecologist in saying that there's like a lot of like absurdist stuff, a lot of just like weird humor that doesn't make sense, and something that bugs me to no end. There are lines that don't rhyme at all, like don't even come close to rhyming.
I think you can get away with it. It depends more just how stupid and how much you're willing to accept.
Well, there are some definitely like really stupid tracks on here, a lot of really stupid tracks on Moose Bumps. First track, Octagon picks up exactly where the story left off. Like, there was so much
Dr.
like,
Octagon,
stuff.
everyone's going Octagon crazy. Octagon. He's just the word Octagon's literally said like every 50 seconds.
It's funny.
It is fantastic. But my honest opinion about this record is this track is so stylized, it's so distinctive, and it's trying out so many it's just such a fun idea that the rest of the album just can't follow up. And I think the rest of the album just doesn't follow up with that much stylized indie hip hop. One project I want to compare this to, not because of the similar styles of music, but similar taste or not similar taste, but similar ways kind of music has aged in the sense. David Byrne's last project, American Utopia, I felt like David Byrne just wasn't able to find what he was doing best back in the Talking Heads, but it's a new era, so we have these stranger artists that are doing new things and are being way more stylized than David Byrne are. They're being way more catchier than David Byrne are. So it's almost like someone from an old era coming back into this, where Dr. Octagon, Kool Keith is coming into it. It's not as out there as some other acts. For example, Quelle Chris, MF Doom. There's stranger artists in that, but
the underground scene has changed a lot since Dr. Octagon's first project, or the first Dr. Octagon project. But I think Octagon holds its own in the weird kind of territory, but after that there are just some tracks that fall short. I think it's always got this kind of Kool Keith flavor to it all the way through. I taste that Kool Keith flavor.
I feel like it is Kool Keith, but I feel like we're just giving kind of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's that much depth to this project. I think there's nothing that made me go oh shit. We were talking last week about Metal Face meets Doom Face, the Starface Doom project, and that made me say oh shit a lot, because it felt like Doom was kind of being revitalized and trying, or almost reliving a lot of the golden years and stuff, and it felt like Doom, but it was also Doom in its prime almost coming back in a sense. Or things that we liked about Doom in his prime coming back in a sense, where this, it just seems kind of Kool Keith that I heard a couple years ago in his last project. That's about it. It's just he's not doing anything that surprises me, doing anything that shocks me. He's just doing Kool Keith, and kind of what Kool Keith has always done. It's not terrible. It's just this album kind of just bored me. I didn't care for it that much. I think the more I listen to it and the more I think about it, there was nothing that really grabbed me past Octagon. One of the moments that did, 3030 meets the Doc Part 1, I thought that was great.
What a great collab.
Delton,
this is just artists I listened to when I was younger, all coming together.
Deltron 3030 and Dr. Octagon, that's collaboration I needed to hear, and
that's a part 1, so that leads me to believe that there's more to this, and I'm excited to hear it. Other stuff that I liked on here, Power of the World I liked. Polka Dots I thought was really bizarre. And actually, a track that kind of grabbed me was Bear Witness 4, which is literally just DJ Qbert scratching the entire time.
Yeah.
And I like that, because I don't think scratching is used nearly enough in today's music. I don't think like DJing and the art of spinning is used enough.
I think more producers who are DJing or they're DJ actually during sets and stuff like that, like, should scratch. I think that we need.
It's an art to learn for sure, but it was like, it's not as big anymore, but
it's even easier now to scratch, and I feel like more artists should do it.
Yeah,
because like you have digital turntables now and like virtual DJ and all that shit. Like it should be something that's like well done, and I don't know. That's just my personal quip about it. But
yeah, it made me kind of reappreciate a lot of these things that have been kind of thrown out. I think this is Kool Keith trying to make Dr. Octagon Ecologist like in a condensed version for a new audience. It didn't really push the story of Dr. Octagon at all. Nothing really happened in his storyline besides he came back and ate some dog food or something. Octagon rice with Octagon beans with Octagon shrimp. Oh, what a great line. But and I think it fell flat. to me as well, as somebody that enjoyed to a big extent his first album,
Dr. Oncologist.
Yeah, but even like some moments on Moosebumps that were very reminiscent of the first album and Dr. Octagon as a whole, were parts of the first album that I just didn't enjoy. Hollywood Tail Swinging reminded me of some of the tracks on the first album that I just didn't care for at all, because they're just so like, Kool Keith's flow is not steady at all. Yeah. It's just very erratic. It's like slower, and I think can be really intelligent at times, but there are just some really like erratic tracks. Octagon is not like, it's not steady at all. It doesn't like keep with a steady beat pattern. It's just
yeah, it's just like watching a washing machine. Like you have one of those washing machines that has like
it like stops window at the top, and
yeah, it's like, well,
there's sometimes where he'll just go and go and go,
yeah,
and there's sometimes where like he'll finish his line like 2 beats before the actual verse should be over, and then he'll have to like catch himself and slow down a little bit, and then he'll go over. Like and I appreciate that like eroticness, especially at such a ripe old age of 54 years old. But it's entertaining to watch him sometimes. But there are other times, like I said, on Hollywood Tail Swinging, where it's just like, the lyrics are about absolutely nothing. I just
thought the production behind it was
dinosaurs with like boring production with this really like erratic flow. It was weird. It was like an audiobook gone wrong.
I just thought the production on that and on Aviator Hype being the better of the two, I thought it was just strange. Like it was just weird.
It was very weird.
It just kind of confused me overall. In the end, personally, I think it needed more. It almost, I hate to say it needed to be stranger in a sense. It felt like Kool Keith, but I don't think Kool Keith in this current era is stylized enough to be a compelling performer. And I feel like it just didn't, it's not going to be remembered as memorable as this, because this Dr. Oncologist was so memorable for its time because there's nothing like it, whereas this is like a dime a dozen. I hate to say that, but I think...
I don't say a dime a dozen. I just think that he hasn't... I don't think he's caught up to where he should be as an artist. It's almost like Kool Keith hasn't evolved his style enough for modern day audience. The same way that like we talked about David Byrne not doing a similar thing.
But at least David Byrne had a lot of tracks on that album that I would listen to again. This, I feel like I would just listen to Octagon, and I don't think anything after that is that super noteworthy, and I want to go back to.
Yeah.
In the end, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. I don't want to really visit this minus Octagon. I think Keith, not Keith Ape. I was gonna say Keith Ape for some reason. I don't know where I am, but I think Kool Keith it put a lot of heart and soul in this project, but it just in the end it just didn't really pan out with a lot of the musical ideas that made Dr. Octagon Colleges so memorable. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, I think I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I actually did enjoy a lot of moments on this project. And to me, it showed that Kool Keith can still he can still rap, and I didn't think that he'd be able to deliver such flows. It also brought back a lot of production that I liked from Dan the Automator, and I haven't heard like a lot from him recently. So it was just cool to like get everybody back together, I think, and hear what they can do. I would love to see Kool Keith featured on like more stuff now, as some of these newer indie artists I don't think really know
much about Kool Keith.
Yeah, like who their granddaddy is in a sense.
Granddaddy of the weird and the underground.
Well, if Kool Keith's the granddaddy and Doom's the father, then you've got groups like Injury Reserve and Brockhampton and Flatbush Zombies.
I almost think Kool Keith almost like the David Lynch of like indie hip hop, if that makes sense. Because David Lynch inspired like a bunch of filmmakers who are making like who made a bunch of like strange shit after him, but he was like kind of the creator of that shit, or maybe but like I think that's kind of where we are. I don't know.
Yeah, do people make better like weirder films than David Lynch? Yeah,
and more.
But not only founded it,
David Lynch.
Yeah. That's I think that's kind of the problem that we've run into here with Moosebumps. But also I think that it would be cool to see like a lot of new indie artists kind of take from this project and see some of the cool stuff that Kool Keith built his career off of and built his kind of style and built the underground hip-hop movement off of. So I'd love to see like where this brings both Dan the Automator and Kool Keith into the future of underground hip-hop.
Okay.
Ross from Friends is not the character from Friends, but
he's not Matt Champion either.
No, he Matt Champion kind of looks like Ross. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Ross from Friends is the newest signee to Flying Lotus's Brain Feeder Records, and I wanted to check this out because not only was his name Ross from Friends, and that's a gimmick alone, it's kind of why we checked out Lana Del Rey's a couple weeks ago. We just the name kind of sells it to me, but Brain Feeder kind of established itself as making a lot of electronic music or even jazz music at times with artists such as Thundercat and Kamasi Washington, music that I want to listen to. Last year we listened to a great Brain Feeder record, Igloo Ghost, and I wasn't expecting anything as innovated or stylized as Igloo Ghost, but I was maybe expecting something just weird and strange. This new EP, this new 4-track EP, Philion, I was correct. It's about 20 minutes, and in the end, I'm just kind of disappointed by it. And I don't think we have too much to say about it, but I think Ross from Friends isn't that stylized as an artist as a lot of the other people on the Brain Feeder record as. You look at Flying Lotus or Igloo Ghost, Kamasi Washington, Thundercat, very stylized artist, and Ross from Friends is kind of just there. This Aphelion EP just kind of sounds like essentially just a lo-fi like electronic mix, a vaporwave mix of sorts. Just that kind of lo-fi, not minimalist, but lo-fi electronic music. And the tracks don't progress at all. And we've talked a couple weeks ago, we talked about this album Against All Logics 2012 to 2017, and that album didn't progress as well, but I think it was so hypnotic. A goal was to hypnotize you, so it just kept on repeating the same thing over and over again, and it worked well in that benefit. But on this, it just doesn't progress, and it just seems kind of almost as lazy. These tracks are 6 and 7 minutes long, and they don't feel like they progress whatsoever. I don't think anything on this EP I would go back and listen to. My favorite moment being John Cage, where it separates itself. It has this almost like motivational speaking intro going into this weird like vocal sample that is being used during parts in it. And I think it sounds fun, but that's like the low moment of what's good here. I don't think I don't think it deserves to be 6 minutes because I don't think it progresses anything like that. I think this album this EP is just too long. It does not deserve to be like 20 minutes because I don't
30 minutes.
It's 27, so it's 27 minutes, but essentially 30. But I don't think it's justified its length. No. I don't think it justifies its style. I don't think it justifies its sound. There's just not much happening here. It just sounds like I'm listening to a lo-fi electronic like vaporwave mix of sorts. Like I just
24/7 lo-fi hip hop beats to chill and study to.
I'm literally looking. I think like when I listen to this, I think I'm just watching some anime girl study.
We have to save her. She's been out there too long.
She's
Take a break.
Take a break. But there isn't. I wish I could say more about this, but in the end, Ross from Friends doesn't produce a unique style. There's no characteristics of this. After I listen to it, that I can identify that's a Ross from Friends track. Igloo Ghost. After I listen to Neil Wax Bloom, tons of characteristics. I feel like Igloo Ghost almost has ADHD of sorts. There's so many elements being stacked on top of each other. It's so distinctive. It's so synthetic. And like we mentioned Against All Logic earlier, very hypnotic. It loops a lot. Doesn't progress that much, but its goal is to put you on this journey and take you to another world of sorts, kind of mind control you in a sense. Whereas this is just like, yo, you wanna study? You want just background noise? That's essentially all it is. And I really didn't enjoy listening to this thing because I didn't think there was much to it, and it just kind of bored me in a sense. I wasn't in the mood to just listening to some just like anime girl studying, and that's all I really have to say. In the end, I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 10. I don't think there's much to it, and it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not by any means anything of the worst things I've heard this year. It's just there's nothing to it, and I don't think it justifies the 27 minutes it's given.
No, I don't think so either. As a vaporwave fan, I was a little disappointed because I liked me some good vaporwave.
Yeah.
But this just, I don't think it delivered. It's pleasant to listen to. I'll give it that.
Yeah, but
I enjoy it. I guess I enjoy the sounds it makes, and I enjoy that it is pleasant to listen to. But in the end, what am I gonna remember? And in all honesty, like nothing. I don't think this album will stick out in my mind. Really, amongst anything that we listened to this year, there are some things that stick out for being exceptionally bad. There are some things that stick out for being exceptionally good, and there are some things that just don't really stick out at all. And the only reason I would ever remember them is because I wrote them down for albums that we reviewed this year. I love the name. I love the kind of quirkiness that comes with the character of Ross from Friends. Not like the actual character, like David Schwimmer, but like the actual musician here. I think he just looks like a really funny, quirky, weird guy. But I wish some of that would go into his music.
I wish there was a character to this music. It just doesn't seem
There's a character behind the music, but there's no character in the music, which is the most disappointing part here. I'll probably give it a 3.5
out of 10. And again, I think there just needs to be more character, more distinctive sound. It needs to progress more. These tracks don't even be 6 or 7 minutes long. Igloo Ghost, I hate that I have to compare Ross Friends to him again, but like his tracks were only like 3 minutes, and it worked well as an album. Like,
that album had like 20-some tracks, but it was a reasonable length. They were short tracks, and they flowed into each other really well. This is like 4 separate albums or like symphonies, so you have to listen to like one after the other.
Yeah, and Against the Logic, it was like 6, 7, 5-minute tracks, but it was hypnotic. It was supposed to be that long. It justifies that length. This just doesn't. Yeah. In the end, I think there needs to be huge changes if Ross from Friends wants to compete with other people on the Brain Feeder records, because if you're comparing him to like Flying Lotus, he's like not even the same like league, not even the same like state or like country or even like planet or galaxy.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Just like not even like in the same ballpark. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Kali Uchis, Colombian American pop singer, really singer-songwriter, probably best known for working with Daniel Caesar on his song Get You.
Known by most people, for me, working with Tyler, the Creator.
Also worked with Tyler,
some
the
of
Creator.
her best workers, some of the most interesting tracks I've heard from her personally have been Tyler, the Creator tracks. Also may be known for being on Gorilla's last project, Humans, in one of the worst disgusting moments of the entire album, a mashup that should not have happened.
No.
That is redeemed by a track later on this album, but just an ugly mashup of two things that just should not have missed. Kali Uchis is almost like, I think you called it her twang in a sense. Her particular style of vocals over that electronic sound just didn't really fit, especially with Damon Albarn.
But I mean, she's been around the music world working with people like Vince Staples, Snoop Dogg, like I said, Daniel Caesar, Bootsy Collins, Bad Bad Not Good, Kate Renata,
everyone and their mother.
Diplo. She's been Leon Bridges. She toured with him, but she's been working with like a ton of people, and finally has released her first solo studio album, Isolation. And to me, I'm gonna put it in one phrase here. This is what I wished Camila Cabello was on Camila.
Just the style of pop music, or the style in like R&B.
The style of pop music and
personality too.
Definitely personality. The Latin flair that's scattered across this album on tracks like Miami or Nuestro Planeta. I mean, there's like. I don't know, it's like a cool kind of style that's not always shown in pop music all that much, and I think it's become more popular in the past couple of years with like I said, like the rise of Camila Cabello, bands like Fifth Harmony, I think, include a lot of that, and of course the ever popular Despacito.
I was hoping you were gonna say that.
But I don't think it's ever been kind of used to this extent that it is here,
and I think
it works a lot better than just kind of a touch Mexico.
I think it works more as a hybrid.
Yeah.
Not as full embracement of flair. Despacito, because not on this album. Different artists.
Don't think for a second that it is.
Just I know what I'm talking about. But Despacito, the reason I didn't really care for that track when it was super big last year is because it was just a Latin track. It didn't like take any risks. It just sounded like a Latin pop track. And like I was kind of
popular here in the States because it was different from the pop tracks that we have here.
But it wasn't a hybrid of styles, whereas I would take it Miami on this album, featuring the Bloods' answer to Sia, B.O. It's a combination of American pop, American R&B with a Latin flair, and I really enjoy that. I think Kaliushis at times does this really well, but on the track Nuestro Planeta,
Icon.
It just sounds like it's just a Latin track, and there's nothing more to it. Kaliushis just does not fit the beat whatsoever. Her speaking in her
Spanish,
I was gonna say, but like I was trying to think, her kind of twang in Spanish just doesn't fit, in my personal opinion. Not that I say she shouldn't speak Spanish, but I feel like her performance overall on that track's kind of lackluster. It feels like that her kind of like answer to Despacito, or a track that would like...
It reminded me of a Enrique Iglesias track.
Yeah.
Like, very much so.
But like, it just seemed really boring. She didn't fit over the production. She didn't fit over... It wasn't a hybrid. It was just a very traditional Latin pop track. And I didn't like it. Also, Raycon, the busboys on that track, not to be forgotten, or not to be confused with Raycon, the chef of Wu-Tang fame.
I couldn't figure out why you made that joke earlier. Like, when you texted me that joke, I like could not figure out why you made it, and I just went along with it. But like now I see what you mean.
But like, I think there's a plethora of styles on this project. Miami, very Latin / pop flair, as I mentioned before, but very different from the track that follows after it, Just a Stranger, featuring what's his name, Steve Lacy. Very natural, not really synthetic, indie rock kind of vibe. Reminds me not only of Steve Lacy, but artists of like, I would say like Tyler Creator and almost Reggie Snow in a sense. But then you get into later on, In My Dreams, very synthetic, more poppy. It's produced by the Gorillaz and features vocals from Damon Albarn, and it redeems her terrible performance on Humans. But I'm
so glad that happened.
It's a different type of beast than previous tracks. After the Stone, very jazzy and smooth. There's just too many. There's a lot of styles on here. I don't think, besides the pure Latin tracks, and some of the pure pop tracks, that none of them really contradict each other. I think just the pure pop and the pure Latin are the ones that kind of just bog down this project and are some of my least favorite moments. Like Tyrant, probably the purest, I think, pop track on this with Georgia Smith. Kaliushis does not fit the beat. Her performance is the best thing about this. I think it's just kind of weak lyrically. I think Georgia Smith should not even have a feature because she literally just sounds like Kaliushis. She's just replicating Kaliushis. She's a shapeshifter, and she turned herself into Kaliushis and just gave the same performance. So her feature is just kind of pointless at that point. But there's some really strong moments, and there's just some moments. I think this album kind of lost like 15 minutes in length. I think moments like Tomorrow and Gotta Get Up are too similar to previous tracks we already heard of. Nourish the Planeta and Tyrant, as I mentioned before, just kind of blog it down by just not either being too pop-centric or too Latin-centric, and not really being a hybrid, of which I think Kaliushis is. She's a hybrid of styles, and that's what makes her so interesting.
That's what she works the best with, I think.
I think there's elements of this album I really enjoy. I think Kaliushis' performances have always been polarizing to me. I've either really loved them or I've just been like bored or confused about them. And on this, I think consistently she's the best part of a lot of these tracks. And when
probably how it should be on a solo album too.
if she isn't, it's just because she doesn't fit over the beat. It's not her performance. I think her performance is consistent throughout this entire album, but it's just like it's the production just doesn't fit her, or the songwriting's kind of weak. But again, favorite moments on this album, Miami. I think I'll start off the jazzy, very bass heavy intro from Thundercat on the Body Language track. Again, another one of the production switch ups on here that's just kind of all over the place.
A lot of really cool production switch ups.
But there's a lot of good producers on this. I mentioned Thundercat's on a track.
Rommel Himnani from
Brockhampton on the track with Steve Lacy.
Yeah.
Gorillaz.
Soundwave, 2-inch Punch, Bad Bad Not Good.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but Body Language is a great intro moment. You can tell it's Thundercat on the bass, just like no one plays the bass like Thundercat does. He's just so...
He's amazing.
He's amazing. I just want to hear an album just him playing bass. I want him to be like the back man for someone and just play bass. That'd be cool. Not because I hate his vocals or anything, I think that would just be a cool experience. I want to be Thundercat, be part of a band. That'd be dope.
Ooh, with ASAP 12. Yeah.
Miami, as we mentioned before, featuring Bia, just kind of it's what I think of when I think of this like hybrid of styles, pop music and Latin music. And like this is like when you said this is what Camila Cabello's last album should have been, like, or what Camila Cabello can be or should be. That's what I think of. I think of this like kind of hybrid of styles, of kind of almost hybrids of worlds kind of colliding into this one track. Just a Stranger, featuring Steve Lacy, also production from Rommel Helmy. Very catchy. Reminds me a lot of Steve Lacy's previous solo work. And I also mentioned, I was talking about this Trevor earlier. I think I'm not the biggest fan of Reggie Snow, but I think he would actually fit really well over that beat.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Steve Lacy provides a very catchy hook on the top of that. Very stellar performance. Very great production as well. Flight 22, very 60s-esque track. Makes me 60s X style, like soul music. That's what the track kind of reminds me of.
Yeah.
I think Kali Uchis's beginning, where she sounds like a flight attendant. She's giving this flight attendant speech. It's kind of talking about the turbulences of relationships and stuff like that. I think it's really a really well conducted and really well coordinated track. I love the 60s vibe to it. I think I'm watching this off like a giant box TV that has like green, like a green layout and like yellow buttons. You know what I'm talking about? Like a retro,
think so,
neon green, ugly ass TV from like the 60s. That's why I'm watching this. That's why I'm listening to this from. I'm listening to this off the radio. Just very giant ass fucking old school radio.
Like one of those that takes up like an entire wall.
Yeah. Tyrant, Nostro Planet, whatever the fuck it's called, are two of my least favorite moments, as I mentioned before. But like other moments I really enjoy. In My Dreams, again, I gotta mention Kali Uchis redeems herself from Humans. I think her and Damon Albarn work together. Like, it has Gorillaz production to it. Why the fuck, like, why is this collaboration good now and it was so terrible on their last record? And it kind of confuses me, because this is like...
I don't think that they fit to her style. I think that she fit to theirs.
Now, this time, it's just more of like...
It's the other way around.
Catering
it works
to her.
A lot better.
And it gives me the idea that Gorillaz are dropping something this year, and they've kind of mentioned that before. But like now,
I hope so, and I hope it's got Kali Uchis on it, and I hope it's good.
Good again, but I think it kind of comes through as a well done piece.
Oh yeah.
This is not the first time Gorillaz like have produced on other people's projects. I think they believe that they produced on Snoop Dogg's project before. But I thought it was a really unique moment because we don't see that much often. We either see like Damon Albarn produces something or Damon Albarn's featured or something, but this is a Gorillaz production, Damon Albarn kind of like feature to it, vocal background, vocal credit. After the Storm, one of my favorite tracks of the year so far. Tyler Creator drops like Kali Uchis soul. I don't know where to start on this track because there's so many elements I like about it. Bad But Not Good's production, very soulful production. The intro from Bootsy Collins, of all people, coming in. You better stay calm, baby, before you're watching my... Whatever the fuck he said.
Watch your profanity.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite line for that. But Bootsy Collins is like very soothing, soulful intro, followed
I
up
always know his voice.
by Callie Ushis. One of her best performances of her entire career. Over this bad but not good beat fits so well. I just don't understand how it's done. Going into Tyler Creator, who has honed his skills so much over his entire career. This track and Okra, which he dropped very recently, I almost take it as kind of Tyler Creator showing off his lyrical skills. Like he's just so into his own now. Like Tyler Creator is just Tyler Creator now. He's not trying to attempt to be someone else. Like he's not trying to be Doom or not trying to be Eminem or anyone like that. He's just being Tyler Creator. He's just become a force of his own, and I think this track purely identifies that. I like the intro. Callie, what you mean? I take that defensive because I'm the hottest flower boy that popped up on the scene. I love that line so much. I love his performance. I love the music video of that track. It's so fucking weird. Callie Ushis is like stone going through the supermarket. I think Callie Ushis just has a weird thing with her face. Like she can't like experience normal emotions. She always looks stone faced. I don't know. It's weird. She just always has that, like, one face. The face on the album art is just her, like, resting face. She only has one emotion on her face. That has nothing to do with this album. That's just Callie. It's just from footage I've seen her always. But she just looks like she just is always, like, stone-faced. But yeah, I think After the Stone's a beautiful track. And I think the end killer, it's not really anything noteworthy. It just kind of goes out. I think After the Storm would have been a killer ending. I feel like A Fool is okay, but I don't know. I just don't think it lives up to the hype after the rest of this. I think, again, Killer, Feel Like a Fool, Nistro Plantenta, and Tyrant are some of my least, and Tomorrow are some of my least favorite moments. Not all of them are terrible or anything. I think Nistro Plantenta and Tyrant are the bad ones on this book, but like, I think Callie Ushis gives a sound that I'm really looking to hear from her more. I think it just needs to be more honed down on what she wants to go through. I don't think it needs to go through as many instrumental changes and producer switch ups. I would like to hear her work with like one producer, like either she works with Steve Lacy or Ramen Homnani, or she works with like Thundercat or works with Gorillaz or Bad But Not Good. She finds one particular producer and like works with them to craft like a consistent sound that maybe can have switch ups. Maybe you can get a guest producer here and there, but I just don't want it to be all as over the place as this. I think her performance is good. She's matured as an artist. I think her performance is like the best part about this. There's moments on here I really want to go back and listen to again. In My Dreams, After the Storm, Miami. I really had fun with this project, and I don't think I have anything else to say more. I'm gonna give this a 7.5 out of 10. I liked it. I think it can be improved on, though, and I'm going to leave it there.
I think I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think as a pop album for this year, it might be one of my favorites so far. Looking back at, like, just the pop albums that we've had.
By far one of the better pop albums.
Oh, for sure. This really holds its own. And like I said, like, it really disappoints me that a lot of other, like, pop artists like Callie Ushis are taking a backseat to artists like Camila Cabello, who I just don't think are as good at doing the same thing, or doing a similar thing, or having a similar idea. Pound for pound, though, this ended up being really enjoyable and fun for me. I liked a lot of the tracks on here, even tracks like that you didn't enjoy, like Tyrant and Nuestro Planeta. I thought were fine, to me at least. They were fine to listen to. And I'm actually really impressed that there ended up being a pop album that delivered pretty consistently. You know, a lot of albums have like a couple singles or put on the radio, and then the rest of it's just kind of forgotten about. Only like true hardcore fans will listen to it and know it. But this has a lot of tracks that I would go back and listen to more, and that I genuinely enjoyed quite a bit. Definitely, though, I would agree. Top tracks on here: Miami, Just a Stranger, In My Dreams, and After the Storm. Those are some top-notch tracks on here. Everything else is pretty good, with a couple of bad seeds thrown in here, but you know, like, I would go back and definitely listen to this again.
Okay, so that's it for this week's episode of the Anthony and Todd Show. But what's next? What are we doing next week?
What's next? All right, everybody, I need you to cross your fingers.
Okay.
I need you to get in your underwear. I need you to flush some ice cubes down the toilet and dance around. It's like the snow day dance.
Okay.
Right. Wiley's Godfather 2.
It's been delayed like 30 times.
Don't jinx it, but we think it's going to come out this week, and we're going to review it next week.
It's set to release this week,
And
but it
if
was
it's-
also set to release like 2 other times, and like every time we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna review it, and then we forget, like we were unaware that it's not like coming out. It's been
If it
delayed.
doesn't come out, we're going to send an angry tweet, and that's how you'll know. Other than that, hopeful. We've got A Place to Bury Strangers' new album pinned
Where are we burying these strangers?
in the freezer.
That's
In
not,
the Krusty Krab freezer.
I don't think that's how you bury people.
Yeah, it
you have
is.
to bury people underground.
I thought you said marry people. A Place to Marry Strangers. After that, we got with Gum's new album, The Underdog, new Prof album, Pookie Baby, and the new Saba project, Care For Me. Also continuing on the Kanye quest, we've got...
Can we get much higher? So high.
Whoa, that's too high. My beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy. The most grandiose Kanye album to date.
Kanye's gonna be dancing around with like 30 ballerinas. He's gonna be wearing a red suit.
He's
He's gonna be eating.
isolate himself in Hawaii.
He's gonna be eating a chicken sandwich the entire time. And his beautiful fantasy
It's
is
really grandiose.
his beautiful
The dark
fantasy
part is that all the lights are off except for a single rock salt lamp.
So basically, what it is there's a single rock salt lamp. Kanye's sitting there with a bunch of ballerinas dancing
And the chicken sandwich.
and eating the chicken sandwich. Why didn't we direct all
What
Kanye's
a
music
fantasy.
videos?
I can hardly wait. This album does have a guitar solo on it. Whether or not it's Lil Wayne, I cannot confirm or deny. Until next time, guys, make sure you like our Facebook page, as long as Facebook is still around. If it's not, we will send another angry tweet.
Is there rumors it's gonna close?
Well, yeah, they're
Really?
testifying Mark Zuckerberg right now because like he stole a bunch of people's information from Facebook. Yeah.
Ooh, it's bad.
So if Facebook shuts down, you'll get an angry tweet. But to get the angry tweet, you have to follow us on Twitter. You can also follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to submit a question for next week's episode, there's a link in the description if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, as long as it's still around. And if you like our theme song, this week it's actually produced by our big friend, Vincent. Our intro song is called...
We gotta come up with a name.
Galaxia, and our outro song is...
We're gonna come up with something new. I still have to make the outro track
we've got a new outro song
called "Rest in
now
Peace,
it's called-
Danny Brown's Tooth Gap."
It's actually called Rock Salt Lamp. And the links to at least the first song is going to be in the description, hopefully.
Hopefully, I don't know. We'll find out.
Maybe it will, maybe it won't. This has been episode 34 of the Anthony and Todd Show, an episode we would like to call I've Octagon to Taco Bell 5 times this week. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself and had a fun time.
See y'all
See you
next
guys
week.
later.
Yeehaw. Yeehaw, y'all.